everyone, today I'm going to show you how to dye natural fabric using two different methods. The first being flower bundling. The first step is washing the linen, shirt, or whatever fabric you use with dish soap or a fabric soap. Then you can put pennies inside the water or any other mortar to help the fabric absorb better. Next, you can put vinegar, 1 part, 4 parts water into the mixture and let it soak for 1 hour. Lay out your t-shirt on a flat surface and put out your design. You can put it on just 1/2 of the t-shirt because later we're going to fold it over. So this is the after look. It's a mix of lots of flowers, narcissus, chamomile, roses over here, lavender all throughout, flowers that I've grown, purchased, foraged, and then were given to me. So a good mix. So now we're gonna fold it. Next we use this stick and we just roll it through. You want it rolled really tight. Next you either can put twine, wrap it around several times and then tie it, or I'm going to use zip ties. Now I have it over water, and you can just let it steam for an hour, make it covered, make sure it doesn't dry out, keep it water on it, and make sure that it doesn't dry out on the bottom either. If there's a gap between the pot and the covering, you may use tinfoil wrap to cover the gap a little bit better. After a minute to a minute and a half of steaming, you can take off the lid, wait for it to cool down obviously, and voila! Leave it like this overnight, and in the morning you'll have a naturally dyed t-shirt. Okay, second try. I'm using hot water, I used a little bit more soap, and I'm just going to wash the shirt vigorously. In order to help the dye adhere better, I'm going to let it soak in here for a few hours with some silverware in it to help the motor increase and help just the dye soak in afterwards. I'm doing this instead of the rusty pennies because I didn't have enough. So I'm seeing if this works a little bit better. Okay, so this is what it looks like for my second try. I'm using flowers that I mostly know do really well for dyeing. So for example, the sumac ones, which is like the base of this. You can see I have a lot of them. It's the ones that previously were breaking apart. I also looked up and looked that they're are traditionally used for dye, and I will figure out why that is and what chemical property makes them different from other flowers like the lavender that didn't do as well. I have some unknowns, I don't know how the basil or the mint will do. I have this blue pea flower which turns tea extremely blue, so I'm hoping that will do well. I have chamomile. I didn't crush anything this time. That was the biggest thing I learned last time is crushing it didn't seem to help. So yeah, I'm hoping that it will do well. I'm going to try and roll it a little tighter this time, and I'm going to try and use a shoelace as a tie instead of using the zip ties, so I'm hoping it will be better this time. This is what it looks like after rolling and tying. Now for steaming. Without the stick, I was able to fit it inside this pot, which is a lot easier to steam because I have a top that fits perfectly on. So it's looking better this time without the stick so far. So now you just wait for it to start steaming and then let it steam for an hour and 30. This time I'm going to give it till 1 hour 30 to 2 hours just to be on the safe side, and then leave it to rest overnight. This time it seemed to have worked much better, though I still have to rinse off the excess plant material, and obviously I'm worried that some of the color is going to wash off, but I wanted to document this because it definitely looks pretty good right now, and even the back looks pretty good. I still have to give it a final wash, but it seems like this time it worked much better. The dye seemed to work a lot better, specifically the butterfly pea one. I think made it this darker purple color mixed with the sumac. But yeah, overall I'm a lot happier. It still needs a final wash. I'm a little worried some of the dye is gonna come off, but it seems a lot better. Okay, and for the third and final way of dyeing our t-shirt, we will try using avocado skins. First step is the same, give it a good soak in warm water and wash it with just dish soap or other gentle soap you have. The next step is to add frozen avocado peels, and you can also save the pits if you want, into a pot. You can just collect them over time and freeze them, and make sure you clean them from any avocado residue so it stays out of the dye. I have like 4 avocado shells in this pot that I'll be using. Next, you would like to fill up the pot with water and cook it on medium heat for 30 to 40 minutes. Make sure you leave enough space at the top so when you add the shirt, the pot will not overfill. And keep in mind that the longer you cook it for, the darker your dye will be. So the color should look a dark red pinkish, and then you know it should be ready. You can always boil it for a little longer for a deeper color. I did it for a little over an hour. Before you put the shirt in, you can take off the avocado peels just so it stays a little cleaner and just leave the actual dye liquid. Next, you want to wring out the shirt of all the water in it, and also before you do that, rinse out the soap so that there's no more dish soap in it. Now use the spatula to push down the shirt into the water. You may have to work kind of hard at this because of air bubbles. You can see that it's a little difficult, but just keep pressing down and cook it on medium heat for another hour. Also check on it throughout the hour to make sure that it doesn't lift up out of the dye because of the air bubbles. This is it, all under the water, so I just kept pressing down until all of it was pushed under. Okay, I left it in the dye for 8 hours overnight, and you can see it worked pretty good. It's kind of a pinkish color now. The next step after this is to put it down in the sink and just rinse out all the excess dye. Just rinse it out with warm water, maybe a little bit more gently than that, and then you're done. I have hung it up here to dry, and the lighting's a little bit better, so you can see that it's kind of a rich pink inside and outside. It did pretty good. Very even dye. You can see this was my first attempt. My second attempt worked pretty good. A little uneven with the flower bundling, but still really cool design. And then my third attempt.